never quite tell if the camera's straight or whatever, but hopefully it's good enough. Feet together, chest up, shoulders down, eyes soft. Breathing through your nose. So we're starting in Tadasana. And one can have the feet apart if you find that useful, but they should be level if they're apart. One can have the feet together if you find that useful, and movements might happen of the feet as part of the tuning out of the past and the future and tuning into the present, and tuning out of ideas about oneself in the present into this moment. This is how we purify and how we don't keep going around the cycles of samsara by keep attaching and reacting to reactions. Let the arms just drift away from each other so there's a sense of space. The head soft, the eyes soft. A sense of space. And the breath, of course, is absolutely fundamental, and it should be expressive. So deep breath, soft eyes, ranging around with the pelvis. We've got the feet together or apart but level. We're in Tadasana. And the purpose is to be absorbed in the reality of the present moment, aside from the constructed opinions about it, and projections into the imagined future and from the imagined past. It's not that the past isn't true in some ways, but it's just not this. This is this. And if we keep reaching back into the past, then we keep getting propelled endlessly in reactions, and whether they be sukhanushayi ragaha or dukhanushayi dveshaha. In other words, whether they be propelled by pleasant things that you want to happen again or unpleasant things you want to avoid happening again. Raise the arms right up above your head. Beautiful. Release the roots of your neck. And release generally. Just get into something a little bit sort of loving and groovy. So movements of the knees or hips or both. So, loving and groovy. Those are good words, actually, for what we're evoking here. So it needs to be relaxed. It needs to be breath-centered. It needs to be evocative of absorption. And absorption is absorption into the interdependent field that is this moment beyond our projections onto this moment. So we call it first order reality, rather than second order reality, which is where we sort of project onto it what we like, what we don't like, what we think is good, what we think is not good, based on sukhanushayi ragaha, dukhanushayi dveshaha. Big circle and hands to the hips. Take your feet apart into a generous stride and breathe through the nose. Just feel for the pelvic floor. So start with your feet. Do whatever one can. We will do whatever we can to spread out the little toe side of the feet repeatedly. And then there's going to be movement backwards, forwards to tune in. So we're both tuned into the feet, to the avoiding, you could say, the gripping tendencies that are body, breath, and brain. So many movements are ways of sort of circumnavigating around these gripping, grasping patterns. And to find the pelvic floor, and then inhale, lift from the inner groins up. Exhale, lean or tilt forwards the pelvis. And the hamstrings get a stretch so the quadriceps come online. And we bring our fingertips to the floor. You might need to bend your knees a little and take a breath or two. Spread out your toes repeatedly. Do what you can for the goddess channel, as we sometimes call it in yoga, which is the central channel running along the anterior spine. And we want to prioritize the whole of it. We want to feel that the whole of that goddess channel is open. And that takes time if we're honest. And of course we are honest. It takes time to unfurl, as it were, into the body. The nervous system has to relax. spread out. And for that, certain attitudes have to shift and reconfigure, such as attitudes of craving or aversion, which I've already mentioned as ragaha, craving, dveshaha, aversion. Back to fingertips as high as you possibly can, and then come up, pressing down through the back of the legs to the heels, hands back on the hips. Beautifully done, if I may say so. Walk your feet towards each other. Now have a little shake out, a little shimmy, keeping things loose. Now we're going to take a belt, if you've got one, or a dressing gown belt, or some sort of strap, so that we can, where necessary, bridge the gap between the hands to take a good firm hold, but nothing, of course, oppressive. Some people don't use the belt, that's fine. But we're holding one hand with the other, and it affects a really good invitation to release the tension that's pulling up the shoulder on the lower arm side. So the lower arm is depressed in a good way. And then it's habituation to pull up, which is, of course, to do with tensions in the neck, and those are to do with tensions to do with self, what I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do, and the uncertainty that orbits the samshaya, that orbits around that sense of self. So deep breath, soft eyes, soft brain, investigative here and now, breath centered here and now. And investigative can involve, and often does involve, movements, of course. Great, really good. Okay, slowly release, take breaths, plural. And, stay loose. Whatever you do, just stay loose and easy. And that might be fast movements, slow, sort of sassy movements. The London teacher trainings, that the trainees at the moment have been calling Vajrasati, this form of yoga, Vajrasasi, because of this sort of sassy vibe that we can bring to it. Same thing with a belt. If you're using a belt, for the other side, similarly, one arm up the back and one arm holding, probably using a belt is usually better that way, but not always. And then again, we've got that depressed shoulder that we breathe into. And what makes the shoulder elevate? Anticipation, or sort of, what happens to the body if you sort of cringe about a memory from the past, or what happens to the body if you anticipate something that you're not sure about in the future. Tenses up, and that includes the muscles of the neck. Of course, that can have all sorts of connotations and implications for blood pressure. But also it means we can end up with hypertonic muscles, which can affect, as I say, blood pressure, but also nerves. And when those are affected, then, of course, breath and mind follow, and everything is everything. So anyway, short way of saying that is this is good for you. Especially if you breathe into it, which is, of course, recommended. I'm still, getting a little Vajrasasi on this, with my leg movements. And just because of the intuitive nature, instead of getting caught up in the past or the future, I circumnavigate those tendencies through movements that circumnavigate those tendencies. You might be able to feel the sort of frustrated habit of tensing up, of anticipation, of being someone, but never quite knowing who that someone is. We have this almost religious belief in a somebody that we're supposed to be, that we believe ourselves to be, that we believe everyone is. And yet at the same time, we never quite know who that is. So we're a bit tense around it. Okay, release the arms when you're ready and have a little shimmy, a little shake, whatever is effective. We don't get caught up in whether it's right or wrong according to some memory. or some group that we're a member of, or anything like that, you know. So when you're nice and loose, we're going to keep the fingers loose, keep the shoulders loose. We're going to place the fingers on the top of the shoulders, like I'm a little teapot, sort of. Almost. More like that, isn't it? That's the teapot. Yeah, like that. That's it. Beautifully done. Then we're going to circle the shoulders, and they can come close or, you know, not, at the front and at the back, like that. This was this was something we used to do. I remember it well on the first teacher training course that I participated on. I was training on, which was in April 1992 in Kathmandu with Sushil Bhattacharya. Other direction when you're ready, same thing. So you meet behind and then in front. And again, you don't have to meet. It's just that, you know, come close. Great. And then a little looseness, a little release. Hands on the hips. Step the feet generously apart. Take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 deep breaths. Let's turn the left toes in, right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. Check you've got heel to arch alignment. And if you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, raise your arms. Raise your lead arm. Feel the back of your front leg thigh, meditatively going deeper, and the consequence on the front of the leg is it rolls up energetically. Inhale, exhale, feel the moment to moment magic. Back of the thigh in, front of the thigh up, breathing through the nose. Jaw soft. If you're someone who ever gets cramp in the foot arch, you can, of course, put your toes up on a block, elevate the toes, and that can help. It can also help with other aspects of the pose, like getting the thigh out of the way of the pelvis as it tilts. Anyway, for now, breathe, play, relax, breathe, disappear into the richness, which I also called the interdependent field earlier. We can also call it the richness. Marvelous. Inhale, ascend. Great. Hands on the hips. Breathing through your nose, please. Take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and deep breaths, and then turn your back toes in. Front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel to arch alignment. Similarly, we're going to feel the back of the thigh. It's a very sort of energetic thing. It's not so much like a light switch. It's more meditative. Energetic feeling of the back of the thigh going in towards the front of the thigh. And as a result, connected to that, there's an energetic feeling of the front thigh relative to that, moving upwardly. So let's extend the arms. Raise the lead arm, lightly tone the tummy, relax your eyes like you're happy and in love. Inhale, exhale, back of the thigh towards the front of the thigh tumbles upwardly. Breath is expressive and honest. Don't like to waste H's, so honest. Breathing through your nose if you can. Let there be movement that conduces to soft, meditative, investigative surrender. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Arm windmills down, rotate the back heel, step the front back. Adho Mukha Svanasana, of course, we know as Adho, down, Mukha, face or mouth. Svanasana, Svana is dog. And then a few breaths, open the armpits, inner and outer. Many people find bending and extending the knees to be very beneficial indeed. So that can be useful, or pelvic movement. And of course, the benefit we're looking for is to disappear, to reappear, to targeta. Disappear, to reappear. So disappear from this universe where everything's so right and wrong, good and bad, success and failure, up and down, left and right, can and can't, into a reality that's
interdependent rather than independent. So interdependent means that there's a direct experience of relationship in each moment between each and every muscle fiber, between the muscle fibers and the breath, and so on. Heels back, knees up, thighs up, shins up, etc. Shoulders forwards. You might want to take your hands a little wider if they're not wide enough to give your collarbones the space that they naturally will tell you that they need. Sloping from shoulder blades to buttocks, from buttocks to heels. Now this one needs an apology. I apologize. Bring your knee forwards to the back of its own elbow, and then back again, and do the same with the other. And then back again and do the same with the first. And then back again and same with the second. And then back again, same with the first, but then across to the opposite. And then back, sorry, do love you. And then same to the elbow, across and back. And then knees come down. Many of us need to use a block between the heels and buttocks, which is the right thing to do, or a rolled up blanket under the front shins. Either way, any way that we can be comfortable sitting in Vajrasana. Vajra, meaning, well, it was originally the weapon of Indra, which was a club or a mace originally, and then with which he can knock the top off of mountains. And eventually one presumes, for reasons to do with connections that India had with the Greek Empire through Alexander the Great and others. And then the Vajra turns into a Zeus-like thunderbolt, and Indra is a war god, so a thunderbolt's a pretty good weapon. Zeus seems pretty warlike too when he's in the mood. But the point is, and this is something I find very interesting, is a flash of lightning then becomes a symbol for awakening, immediate here and now awakening to be recognized by the Buddhist school of Tantra known as the Vajrayana. So anyway, it's a little story while you rest and roll on your shins and breathe, I hope, easy. Good, okay. To hands and knees, please. Thank you. Take a breath. Wag your tail. So there's this lovely, I think it's lovely anyway, looseness that we're exploring. Jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft. No, I got the impression, a strong impression, that you absolutely loved that knees to the elbow thing before. So we're going to do it again, but on the hands and knees. Knee to the elbow, knee to the opposite elbow, and then back. The longer your arms are, the easier this is. So, it's a bit of luck of the draw. We'll do it one more time. So it's a knee to the elbow and across, back, knee to an elbow and across, and back, and then just breathing and wagging the tail. We're going to stretch the legs back again. We're going to do a different sort of movement. Shoulder blades to buttocks, buttocks to heels. Different, but affecting a similar part of the body. Before we even go there, let yourself sway and tilt and move to share the load so that your muscles aren't building up lactic acid too quickly. Load, drop either one knee and touch the floor, but without putting weight. Raise it and bring the other one down, touch the floor, but without bringing weight. And then bring both down, touch the floor, but without bringing weight. Raise up both, and then knees forwards. Similar with the buttocks and heels, a block might be placed between them. And then I'm sure that we're taking together quite a few chunky breaths, deep breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft, breath soft, brain soft. And again, there might be rolling. I so far, don't mean to try and predict the future, but so far, I've always found myself rolling. But I term it, I find myself rolling rather than sort of deciding that's something I should do. Soft eyes, soft brain, soft throat, soft tongue. Great. We're going to lay on our backs. Take your belt with you because you'll need it, not immediately, but in a bit. And as I said, we're going to lay on our backs. I'll bring a block with me. Not that you necessarily need one, but I've been told in the past that if I lay on my back with the microphone on, it can distort, presumably due to the bass tones from the male voice. Who knows though? Anyway, I use the block for that. But you can, if you don't have a microphone to accommodate, you might want the block to go under your head in a minute, but not now, because right now we're going to bring the hands. The hands go under the head, fingers interlaced, breathing through your nose. And you might take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deep breaths. I'm confident you can feel your medial scapula. That just means the inner aspect of the shoulder blades, inner as in nearest the spine. And there's an opportunity for us to feel the depth or the deepening of those medial scapula. What is required is a release of each and every fiber of the pectoralis, that is the chest. Now, the release of the chest is codependent with the breath coming and going, and so on. So now let's flex up our hips. Let's just lift up the feet. And I hope you experience a pleasant release of the lower back. And as the legs drift towards you, lift up your head and continue to breathe through the nose. Open the angle at the back of the knees to 90 degrees, please. Take opposites towards each other, opposite knee, opposite elbow. And I just want to remind us or tell us anew that the hands can move around the head. They don't have to be stuck like glue. So sometimes a different position is better so we don't yank on the neck muscles. Let's go to the other side. Similar vibe. And one more on each side. Trying to smile if you want, or having a more serious face. Some people find that more useful. One more time, last side. Finally returning to center, head down, feet down, and then let's take a few deep breaths, because that's a strong imprint, some skara. I'll take a few deep breaths like that. Just release the hands from behind the head. Bring the feet closer to the bum and stretch the arms closer to the feet. You can probably tell we're readying for Setu Bandhasana. So hold your yoga mat firmly. And just as we did earlier with the belt, we depressed one shoulder at a time. Here we can depress both shoulders by holding them down using the mat. And so that then the habit of tensing up can be exposed, can be decoupled from, uncoupled from, by just not going with it. By exposing it and not going with it, we uncouple from it. And so this is called Kaivalyam in yoga, this uncoupling of the reactions that are part of the codependent relationships of everything in the universe, all phenomena, whether they be thoughts, mountains, stars, atoms, whatever. Separating that from who we really are, our true referent of I am. Lightly tone the tummy in a wave. That means tummy goes down towards the floor and the ribs go up towards the head, and then lift up your bum. Very simple, actually. And enjoy ranging around for the purpose of love. So with, what we don't want to do is get contrived when we hear the purpose of love. And love means something beyond self. Love is something you surrender to. Love is something you trust in. Love is something you rest in. Love is a kind of openness. So if you want to lift higher, by the way, turn the arms out further. The fingers will go further underneath the mat, that is, and then you can lift the pelvis up higher. we want to tune in like you tune a radio in to the pelvic floor. Okay, arms internally rotate, down you come. Take a deep old breath. Then another deep old breath. And then another, you can have as many as you like. It's as if it's your birthday. And I know you do have a birthday at some point in the next 12 months, so happy birthday in advance. Stretch your arms towards your legs again. Now you've got two choices, or you might not have two choices. Those of you who can reach the shins and who have mobility in the back to also be able to lift the pelvis without overshooting the knees forwards can reach the shins. And of course, that means it's all about the relative lengths of your arms to your torso and pelvis and the thicknesses of your thighs and calves and so on. So if you can hold your shins, great. Otherwise, hold the mat. Everything's the same other than that. Belly draws in and up. Lift up the pelvis. Externally rotate the arms and open the chest. Externally rotate the arms and open the chest. So if you are holding the front shins, that's one way. Holding the mat's pretty similar. You still need the external rotation of the arms when you open the chest. Breathing should be ideally through the nose. Jaw is soft. We're pressing through the feet, but also imagining a pressing through the back of the thighs that pulls any tension gently and lovingly away from the knees. The gluteal muscles are obviously active, so are the hamstrings. Okay, come down slowly. Slowly. Take your arms away from the mat, palms up, walk your feet away from the bum. Take 3 or 4 or more deep breaths. Really let there be some moments of flow. 3 or 4 or more deep breaths. Moments of flow. Now remember that belt that we got? Now's the time. So get hold of the belt. Again, don't forget, if your head tips back, use your block under your head. Or if a block's too much, use a blanket. Take the belt, take the leg that's, well, either one. I don't mind. Bring the belt around the front of the heel. And just to clarify my terminology, the front of the heel means the part of the heel that intersects with the foot arches, medial and lateral. So where the heel meets the foot arches, that's where we cross the belt over. So a bit of the belt is in contact with the heel bone itself directly, and the bulk of the belt is in contact with the beginning of the arches. Neck relaxed, jaw relaxed, brain relaxed. Breathing through the nose, let the neck release. Raise the other leg up, the one you don't have the strap on, and extend the leg to about 45 degrees, keeping the lower back close to the floor. And that's 45 degrees relative to the floor. Some people find it beneficial to lift the head. Beneficial doesn't always mean easy, of course. I quite like doing it because it makes an impression into the abdominal area. And that's an area of deep patterns. So if you can imprint into that area, it can really change the patterns. If you lifted the head, bring it down, draw back the extended leg and bring that down. Release the upper leg and bring that down. Belt on your tummy or chest and take deep breaths, plural. Relax the jaw, relax the neck, relax the eyes, relax the brain. Relax the neck, relax the jaw, relax the eyes, relax the brain. Jaw, neck, eyes, brain. Jaw, neck, eyes, brain. Raise up the other leg when you're ready. And of course, we're going to bring the belt to a similar position. That is to say, the front of the heel, which I defined on the other side as being the point of meeting, the meeting point between the heel bone and the foot arches. So the belt covers both areas to some extent. What I didn't explain on the other side, and I will now, is that we need to walk up the strap so that our arms are straight, but at the same time give ourselves enough slack so the leg can be relatively straight too. The breathing is expressive, the neck is relaxed, the jaw is soft, the brain is soft. Flex up on the hip of the other leg, so just lift the foot. Extend out to 45 degrees. And those that want to can lift the head, chin and chest towards each other. Breathing through the nose, ideally. Great. Bring the leg down, the head down, foot down, other foot down, belt to one side, hands on the upper chest. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Deep breaths, deep breaths. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Deep breaths. Now we're going to stretch our arms out so that the elbows are positioned like this. Right, but we're laying on our backs. Again, one can take head support if you want, if you find it useful. So we've got 90 degrees or more. Actually, it should really be more, like 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, more than 90-degree angle between the bicep and the forearm. The shoulders are a little higher. Sorry, the elbows are a little higher than the shoulders. And the shoulders are a little higher than the collarbones. Having positioned thus, you can enjoy a nice moment. The deepening of the medial scapula, which is codependent with a meditative release of the multiple fibers of the pectoralis. That's the chest to you and me. Flex up the hips, let your lower back kiss the floor. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Fully flex the hips until the back of the pelvis lifts up. Take the pelvis one direction. I'm going to take my pelvis towards you. And the legs the other direction. I'm going to take my legs away from you. So up to you which way you go, but the pelvis scoots one way, and then the knees and legs scoot the other. You can either hover the legs or land them. But but we're not doing a bit of one and a bit of the other. We're not landing the feet while we hover the knees, for example. They either both land or they both hover. Suck in the tummy, lift up the chest, and turn. This is Jatara Parivartanasana. And I think it's great. Easily return to center. Really calm, roll, easy. Realign your pelvis. You got it, like that. Realign your shoulder blades with a little scoot under. Then let me hear you take 3 deep breaths with exhales like sighs. I agree, the sigh seems to say. I agree. Still breathing through your nose, flex up your hips again when you're ready. And obviously, whatever way you went before, we're going to go the other way this time. So last time I took my pelvis towards you, so this time I'm going to take my pelvis away from you, but then the knees and legs go the opposite way. So the pelvis is a sort of counterbalance. I like to sort of jostle around until I can stack one leg on top of the other. And don't worry if the back arm lifts. Suck the tummy in. Use extended exhalations. In other words, extend the length of your exhalations to bring the back arm back down. And also lengthen the lower back tissues, lengthen the deep belly tissues. And in that way, the arm releases back down as well. Hovering or landing, we've already mentioned. Breathing is expressive. Good job. Come back up. It's a big stretch, isn't it? So come up slowly then. And realign the pelvis easily and realign the shoulder blades easily. And then it's all take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deep, relaxed, deep breaths. Relaxed, deep breaths. Now, when your body feels ready and it feels relaxed, then roll over onto your side and stay on your side. I'm just going to push the door closed there. Stay on your side. And extend your bottom arm, which in my case means my hand has disappeared under this curtain. But it's still there, don't worry, I haven't lost my hand. Extend your bottom arm so you're laying on your side, which is quite sort of, I like the feeling of that. We can make that feeling deeper, kind of imprint more deeply into the nervous system by extending the bottom ribs and extending the armpit a few times. And then it's a case of the good old-fashioned Vajrasati yoga roll about, where we roll forwards, roll backwards, looking for moments that are beyond word-based expression, or beyond description. But words can express through proto-language. So words, instead of trying to describe, package up reality and pass it on to someone else, they instead express our experience. So oohs, ahs, sighs, oh gods, whatever expressions like, oh, wow. So we very much want to encourage movement that encourages expressive language. Expressive. Great. Now prop yourself up. So push with the hand that's in front of you. Prop yourself up and place yourself, if you're comfortable to do that anyway, supporting your hand, supporting your head rather with your hand. If you're not comfortable to do that, you can retain your head down, but put a support underneath your head like a blanket or a block. Getting comfortable with the hand on the head we can be made more comfortable through multiple micro adjustments. So adjusting which way the fingers are, which way the head is, and so on. We're going to play with the top leg. We're going to bring it up and down, forwards and backwards. And we're hydrating the myofascia in ways that I hope you'll find take you beyond Tat Param Purusha Kyater Guna Vaitrishnam. Tat Param, that beyond. Tat Param Purusha Kyater, the person who knows that Guna Vaitrishnam is no longer thirsty for any of conditionality. And if you're not thirsty, you must be quenched, So there's a sense when you're in that beyond the descriptive, beyond the dualistic, then that's inherently sustaining. Guna Vaitrishnam, not thirsty anymore. Trishna means thirst. Okay. We're going to bring that leg down. That was just a little play about. Bring the head down too. Bring the knees up. Catch a deep breath. Hope you have a couple of those or more. And if or when ready, we come up from the side. Real easy. Good job. OVS, abbreviation of obviously. We obviously go to the other side. And similarly, extend our arm so we can lay on it. Extend the bottom ribs to increase your contact, and you do that by pressing your hand into the floor, lifting those ribs momentarily, and in that moment extend. And it's important that it is momentarily extended, because if you stay up for long, the muscles will start recontracting. You've got to catch them in that moment of length, pin them down to the mat, let them get used to that, and then repeat, so you build on top a bit more length to what you initially had. You can do that as many times as you want, and then when you're ready, you roll around, looking for that which cannot be described but can be expressed. So we've got a cat here. I call him Ralph. He's diabetic as well these days, so he can get very, very, very expressive, and he's got lots of different meows. Some of them are like begging meows. Some of them are like a bit confused. Some of them are like deeply happy. I can really understand what he's saying. Some of them are complaining. Some of them are slightly apologetic. So, I know what he's feeling, although he's not using descriptive language. So, let your language be motivated as a sort of direct expression of the sensations. And that language might be external or internal. Moans, sighs, whatever. When ready, similar to the other side, we lift up and we place the hand under the head, or use a block between the arm and the head, if that's better for you. And then we're going to bring the top leg up and a bit of play between the horizontal and vertical planes as before. And the purpose is meditation. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. And we're letting go of the past and the future by embracing the richness of this, that holding on to the past and the future keep us in the spin of the wheel of samsara, as it's called, which is essentially a wheel of reactivity. So something happens in the past, you might regret it, or you want it back. You want it gone, or you want it back. And so in the present, you sort of ignore the present to some extent. You drag the past from the past into the present. In some schools of Buddhism, reality is made up of particles that arise and disappear pretty much immediately, like mesons. If you're into particle physics, they do something similar. So breathing, jaw soft, eyes soft. And all we're doing is massaging the adductors, toning up the external rotators of the hip, and breathing. It's pretty important too. Okay, I enjoy that. I hope you do too. Let's bring the leg down, drop the head, draw the knees up, catch a breath or two or three or four before coming up slow, calm, and easy. Well done. Stretch the legs out in front of you. Take a breath or two. Pop your hands underneath your head. This time of year, I should tell you this now, I put more mince pie earners. So I'll just say that again, mince pie earners. That which earns you mince pie. Now, if you don't like mince pies, I don't know why, because I think they're amazing, but you might like Stollen or some other Christmassy treat that you can have this time of year. Anyway, these are in that category, or perhaps you'd like savory something or other. This is a mince pie earner. You lean back, you raise up your toes, to the level of your eyes. Of course, the pose is going to have fluctuation and vibration and trembling even. The pose is called Ardha Navasana, half boat, and we breathe into it with calmness, ideally, but trembling is normal. You don't have to tremble, but it's not unusual. My body's trembling with it today. Different days will bring different things. Okay, well done. Bend your knees. Sorry, it was a while, wasn't it? Lift up your chest. And so you hug your legs to lift up your chest and just a little rocking this way and that way. So it's rocking, but also height, sort of lightness and lift. Rocking and also height, lightness and lift. And breath and breath and breath. Rocking and height. And breath. Now, not everyone, but I think most, so probably you and certainly me, people will find it beneficial next to squat using a block. Now, actually a brick block is better, but I don't have any up here. So I'm going to squat on this kind of block. You can even use two of them, or a brick block, or just a stable, firm something, something without splinters, something that's not going to slip. And we just come up onto a sort of squat on it. And that's a good exercise in itself. It stretches the calcaneus tendons, which are the longest tendons in the body from calves to heels. And we breathe into it. Then we're going to bring the arms to the inside of the legs, so the knees will come apart. And at this point, again, you might find this is enough, and we should qualify that enough means it's enough to challenge the habituated patterns in the body, so thereby to expose them, the sort of tensions and tightnesses that indicate resistance to what's going on presently, which therefore indicates that there's something going on in the body that's resisting the present posture, a habituation based on a view, an opinion, or something else. Now we're going to bring the arms back underneath the shins and push back. And here, for sure, many people will alight at this station. In other words, it is enough for everyone here. With the stretch of the groins, very good for the stretch of the groins, the way the top of the thighs are pushed back, but also there's a little pull forwards from the pressure of the arms against the shins. Less common, some people might want to lean forwards and come up onto their toe tips. And again, less common, but some people might like to lift up their feet or have an urge to lift up their feet. Well, that's another station. But, they're all useful. It ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. Okay, well done. That'll do. Come down, take a breath or two, and pop up into Adho Mukha Svanasana again. So stretching out the back that way. Put your block to the side. So opening up the inner armpits, perhaps by bending your knees, perhaps by moving your pelvis, stretching and lengthening, opening up the outer armpits. And then if you divide the armpit into a top and bottom, the bottom part of the armpit draws back towards the groins. The back of the thighs towards the front of the thighs, and the front of the thighs rise towards the skies to your surprise. And the breath just comes and goes. The anterior spine can release open by slightly lifting the head, but keeping extension going through the arms, investigative extension. Great. Okay, come forwards, down to hands and knees, back perhaps with a block between the heels and buttocks to kneeling. If you do have a block between the heels and buttocks, we are going to come forwards into Balasana. So it's advantageous if you've got blocks here to have supports in front of you. For example, a block for your head like that, and perhaps support for your arms as well. Although I'm using this block, having it on its side is not super stable. So you might instead have a stack of blocks that support your head. Because if your bum's lifted, you just end up feeling like you're falling forwards otherwise. So just to reiterate, whether you're using a block or not, the knees come apart and we come forwards. But if you're sitting on a block, it's worth having some extra support ahead of you. Take your time, breathe through the nose, listen and respond. So you only move forward as you feel the release in the groins. We don't rush that. We take our time. Only move forwards as you feel the release in the groins. This is Balasana, as I mentioned. So-called child pose. Well, I mean, that's what Bala it means. Bala means boy, Bala means girl. But Bala can also just mean child. Come up calmly, slowly, walking your hands back towards your feet and extend your legs out ahead of you. Now, probably sitting on a block is the right thing to do. We're going to have the legs a bit way apart, roughly block length. So block length is like that. So roughly block length between the feet. Doesn't have to be exact, it's just rough. And then probably sitting on a block and probably having a belt nearby. Drawing the buttock fish out and back. And if do that more than once, because every time you adjust, you can refine upon based on the adjustment that happened before. Fingertips on the floor. And once you set up like this, and then a bit of investigative movement, looking for lightness, space, and flow everywhere. Lightness, space, and flow everywhere. In this investigative movement, some people find spontaneous response, the thighs dropping or the pelvis going forwards. And one can take the pelvis further forwards in stages or stations, perhaps using the strap around the feet. For many people, that will be useful. And pulling on it, keeping the feet broad. Breath is calm, thighs drop down. And of course, it has literally zero bearing on anything that yogis are interested in anyway. How much the pelvis moves, which of course is facilitated by how long the hamstrings are and how much give they currently have. What we're using the postures for is solely to expose resistance in the body and to see its release. Occasionally it comes to pass that some people end up, maybe they've got short legs, long arms holding the feet instead of the belt. That's fine. The jaw stays passive. And movement, of course, can help to melt. So this is a kind of hybrid between Paschimottanasana and Kudamassana. Kudamassana being
the tortoise. Wherever we came to, we'll ascend slow and easy and calm. We'll bring ourselves into a seated position now. Because I don't have a cork block up here, I'm going to turn my blocks this way round, which you can do too, or you can sit on the cork block, or you can sit in an alternative comfortable seated position, including sitting on a chair, of course. One can also use a blanket underneath the shins so that the shins have a sufficient support, like this, just as a demonstration. You can use a blanket like that. Chest is lifted. Attention is into the heart. Breath is nasal and the shoulders are down. The jaw is soft. Chest is lifted. Attention rests in the heart. Jaw is soft and shoulders are down. Breathing is through the nose. Chest is lifted. Shoulders are down. Jaw is soft. Breathing is through the nose. We're going to do a little chant. It's very easy, actually. It's just may all be happy. May all be healthy. So it's 2 H's, happy and healthy, go at the beginning. May all see goodness. And may there be no worry. So worry comes at the end. It begins with a letter much further along the alphabet. It's one way to remember it. 2 H's. May all be happy. May all be healthy. 1 G in the middle. May all see goodness. And the W right at the end, where you'd expect it. May there be no worry. And the tune is barely a tune at all, but you'll fall into it because it's so easy, it's so natural. And so just do it from the get-go, even if you've never done it before. Just may all be happy, may all be healthy, may all see goodness, may there be no worry. So bring your hands to your heart. Breathe through your nose. Take a deep breath in. May all be happy. May all be healthy. May all see goodness. May there be no worry. Now Om together, deep breath. Om. Just means I agree. It's like we're agreeing with what we've just said. Breathing, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. May all be happy, may all be healthy, may all see goodness, may there be no worry. Release your hands and we'll surrender in this contented peace by laying on our backs, resting in the field. Make sure you're warm. I've allowed some minutes, I don't know how many, let's have a look for Shavasana. I've allowed no minutes, but we'll still do it anyway. So you might have more minutes than someone else, so you can lay as long as you like, but it's past, so we're going to lay for at least 1 minute. Maybe you've got longer. Do put on socks. That's a good idea. Good idea. Yeah, very good idea. Make sure you're warm and snuggled up as you should be. And it's shoulder blades tucked under. Some of you got into that real quick. It's impressive.
Good. Yeah, get snuggled up. There you go. Scoot the shoulder blades under. Close your eyes if you want. Chest buoyant. And what's wonderful is to feel essence nature. We have to let go and return to its naturalness. That which is not essence nature. That is, in other words, that which is not particularly mine. So everything, all phenomena, thoughts, feelings, emotions, all movement in the universe is interdependent with everything else. So we can't grasp any part of that as particularly mine, because there's no such thing as source and cause and effect. Everything's kind of, one effect it causes something else, and on and on. So we let go of that by letting go of the body, and in letting go of the body, the fully expanded, unlimited, deathless, the deathless, the ageless, the genderless, the unlabelable Purusha reveals itself. So release the full weight of the limbs. Release the full weight of the limbs. Now, in case anyone needs to be super punctual, I'll instruct now for how to come out, but it may be that you'll follow these instructions right now, or you just hold them back for in 5, 10, 15 minutes as you like, you know. So either now, or hopefully you've got a little longer. So, you know, in 5 minutes or something, you'll wiggle your fingers and toes and ankles and wrists, and just feel into stretches in the body that way. And then organic stretches will take place spontaneously, after which the legs will bend, the buttocks will tuck under. You'll take a deep breath to totally release the lower back in the breath. And then you'll roll onto your left side first for a few breaths. And then your other side when you're ready. It will be from that other side that you'll come up, either now or in 5, 10, 15 minutes. But I'll